Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Just going to give it just another moment as people are still coming in from the waiting room. Just still got a couple people coming in. Okay, wonderful. My name is Suzanne Andrews. I'm the CEO at the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to everybody that's joining us today. We're so pleased to be able to bring you this workshop, the 2023 top trends, tips and tricks for managing with fewer staff. What we're going to try and deliver today is answer some of those questions that you have around workforce. We know it's a really important issue for so many businesses. And, faced with today's competitive workforce and an increasingly hybrid world of work that calls for more flexibility than ever before, finding your next steps is anything but easy. And one of the questions that you might be asking yourself is, how can I optimize the use of my limited staff and resources during these busy times to ensure that the needs of my customers are still being met? Today, Katelin and Liz are going to talk about the new upcoming trends and get some tips and tricks for you that you can use if you're in need of doing more with fewer staff. We're going to ask you to, open up your minds to some new ways of doing things and, rethink business as usual and consider new ways of operating your business. I would like to thank the Transvaal Business Development Corporation and the City of Quinte West for sponsoring this event during the Bay of Quinte Small Business Week. And I'd like to ask Linda Lyle, the Manager of Economic Development and Tourism at the City of Quinte West, to say a few words.
Thank you, Suzanne, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of the City of Quinte West, I'd like to thank the regional chambers for putting together such a great lineup of workshops this week to celebrate Quinte Business Week. The city is pleased to be a sponsor along with Transvaal Business Development Corporation. Like Suzanne said, we all know how competitive today's workforce is and how the demand is to be flexible to recruit and also to keep the staff that you have during this business climate. We know it's challenging to balance the limited staff and resources during busy times to meet the needs of your customers. So this workshop is very timely as we hear some 2023 top trends that Katelin and Elizabeth will share with us to help businesses do more with fewer staff. I'm sure you will gain some valuable takeaways from the workshop to support you in managing workforce challenges with your business. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. And next up, I'd like to ask Eileen, who is the Business and Loans Advisor with Transvaal Business Development Corp.
Thank you, Suzanne. And again, welcome everyone to this great workshop that is trying to give you some tips and tricks as you navigate your businesses with less staff, which we know is across the board, as Linda said. I'm very pleased, Transvaal, to be a part of this. We are your local community futures, here to assist any of you in any way that we can, including working alongside of the chambers and the cities. And again, it's a great business week. I know that you'll take a lot away from this today. Make sure that you reach out and have a good session. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Eileen. So first up, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Nicholas. She's a career specialist at the Trenton Military Family Resource Center. She's the host of Your Employment Detective, a podcast for military and veteran spouses seeking to solve their career mysteries. She is also an employment and education coordinator at the Trenton Military Family Resource Center, where she enjoys creating and offering award-winning employment and entrepreneurial training to Canadian military and veteran families worldwide. She's thrilled to offer sessions, resources, and tools to help you reach and discover. She's thrilled to offer sessions, resources, and tools to her clients to help those in need reach for and discover their true potential with a background in marketing. She holds designations as a certified human resource professional, certified human resource leader, certified PLAR practitioner, and as a certified career development practitioner. So as you can see, she knows what she's talking about, and she's going to really bring a great perspective to the conversation from that of the employee looking for work and what are employees looking for these days. She actively volunteers with HRPA, which is the Human Resources Professionals Association Quinte chapter, as well as the board of the Canadian Association for Prior Learning Assessment. She's always game to bring her skills and talents to create fun, interactive, and valuable training opportunities to others. And she views every exchange as an investment for all involved. So Liz, thank you for investing in us today and bringing your wealth of knowledge to this conversation.
Well, thank you. And I can see and recognize so many names, and I have to send that thank you right back to you guys, because all of the time when I reach out for supports and help, I get it. So I can't thank you guys enough. I love the opportunity. I have presented a slide deck for afterwards. I will be quick and keep us on time, as my good friend Chantel has always made sure that it's happened for us. So I will do my best, Chantel. And we've got some tricks and tips, but we also have lots of links. And I understand the presentation will be available after, Suzanne.
Yeah.
So perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so, while we go through the presentation, feel free to take notes, but we will be sharing this recording out with you afterwards. And Liz does have some slide decks with a lot of links on them, which we will share with you afterwards so that you can go and find those. So nothing worse than trying to write out a web page when it's quite complicated. So we're going to do that. We're going to actually start with a presentation from Katelin. And while I'll be listening on Katelin's presentation, I would like to ask you to think of any questions that you might have. You have a couple of choices. You could put them in the chat, or we are going to open up everyone's microphones and cameras, and you can, ask them yourself. Liz is going to do her best to answer those questions live. And then if any that she can't answer, we will be sending on to Katelin afterwards. Unfortunately, Katelin was unable to join us in live today, but she's got a great presentation for you. And I'm just going to introduce her a little bit for those of you that don't know Katelin Hay. She's with Wilkinson and Company, and she's been in the human resources field for over 6 years, specializing in recruitment, talent development, policy development, organization development, and employee relations. She has worked in a variety of industries, including higher education, manufacturing, and healthcare. She holds an honors Bachelor of Arts from Wilfrid Laurier University and a postgraduate diploma in human resources management from St. Lawrence College. She is also a member of the Quinte and District Human Resources Professional Association and completed her Certified Human Resources Professional designation in February of this year. Originally from Prince Edward County, Katelin returned to Quinte West in 2020 to begin her next chapter of life. So I'm going to ask you now to please enjoy this presentation from Katelin. I think it's going to bring a lot of questions up into your mind, and write them down or put them in the chat. And we look forward to the discussion with Liz and you guys afterwards.
Hi everyone, and thanks Suzanne. My name is Katelin Hay. I am the HR specialist for Wilkinson and Company, and here I'm going to share a few tips and tricks for managing with fewer staff. So very quickly, I'd love to provide a quick overview of my career. I have been fortunate enough to be working in the HR field for over 6 years and have experience in a variety of industries, most recently working for Wilkinson and Company, supporting our 3 offices. But I do have a diverse background in the sense I started in higher education, largely worked in manufacturing, have a brief period in the cannabis industry, as well as healthcare. And I really tried to keep in mind those experiences and the businesses that the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce supports in putting this presentation together today. So very quickly, I think it's important to just note what we're going to talk about this afternoon. So how did we get here? It's a question I want to understand. Looking at the 2023 HR trends, as well as tips and tricks on retention, recruitment, company policies and structures, total compensation, and technology to support you in managing with fewer resources. So I have to ask, how did we get here? Looking at the last 2 years and what we have to come in 2023, I think it's important to consider a few factors in really what got us to being in a point where there are fewer applicants coming through our doors and fewer staff wanting to start different careers or join new businesses. So a few factors to consider. You're not alone. The last 2 years, have introduced new challenges to the workforce. Largely, these have come in 3 different buckets: the COVID-19 global pandemic, staffing availabilities, and new workplace trends. But I think it's really important to take a deeper dive to understand, how are these 3 things linked? How have they really impacted our search for new candidates? So naturally, the global 19 pandemic has posed new issues for all businesses. But really, in terms of our staffing, a couple big factors were, vaccination requirements. That may have deterred some individuals from returning to work or led them down a different path. For a lot of individuals, they had shifting priorities over the last 2 years. With lockdowns and school closures, different individuals took on different needs at home, in their community, or in different businesses. I think a big piece that we need to understand is just staffing availability. Although we have a great diverse workforce, this is the first time in modern history where we have 5 generations in the workplace. But that brings a unique challenge for all of us as well. One thing to keep in mind is that we do have less individuals entering the workforce. If we look at stats provided from the recent census in 2021, baby boomers make up 21% of employees in our workplace today, but they are all very close to retirement. Less than half of the individuals between the ages of 14 and 24 are making up those who are entering the workplace. So there's already a balance that we're seeing in terms of finding a new generation of the workforce entering the workplace. And then something else to consider, we have a new way of working. A big trend that has emerged over the last 2 years, remote working. This has presented unique challenges, especially to smaller communities where individuals are now able to work across the province and across our country for businesses that offer remote work placements. This has opened the new doors for opportunities of individuals that they had never dreamed of, while still giving them the opportunity to maybe live closer to home or leave the Greater Toronto area. But unfortunately, this has weighed that we are now seeing we have less staff, we have less applicants, and that's really making us look and say, how do we get through this? Well, I'm here to share a few tips and tricks that I think a lot of businesses can implement, looking at the 2023 trends and keeping in mind the next few slides. So 2023 trends. I think to implement any new tips and tricks, we need to understand, the things that we are going to see in the next year. So a few insights that have really come forward in the HR industry and across a variety of markets. There's 5 big pieces that we need to be aware of. Remote work is here to stay. That has been a great trend that has dominated the workplace. And with more and more individuals being comfortable working online, as well as a variety of recent grads who have spent the last 2 years of their undergraduate career studying online, it's a very comfortable workplace for them. A study released by PayScale identified that 51% of candidates had mentioned had their workplaces gone back to a full in-office setting, they would likely resign. So remote work is here to stay, not only for those who are comfortable in it, but to attract different generations entering the workplace. We have an increased number of retirements. Unfortunately, this was something that has largely been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, with more individuals choosing to stay at work longer than they had anticipated. And as I mentioned, with 21% of our current workforce getting closer to retirement, it's something we need to be mindful of. And unfortunately, that's not going to help our staffing shortages, but sometimes it's better to prepare for some of these trends that we see. And I'm sure most of you are aware of this already, but there is an increased urgency in recruitment. Something I see in my day-to-day right now, going through the interview process, candidates are entertaining multiple offers. So it is something that businesses need to be prepared in acting quick or having a fast process in place. And don't worry, I have a few tips I'd like to share with you on that. Quiet quitting. This has been a big trend recently. Probably some words you've heard on articles or in the news, but what does it really mean? It doesn't mean that we're going to see more and more resignations. It just means staff are looking for balance. They aren't wanting to carry the stress that they have over the last 2 years, and they're going to want to see their true schedule be maintained. So be it a 40-hour work week, they're probably going to stick to close to 40 hours. It's just something we need to be prepared for if overtime has always been something you've relied on from your staff. And then I'm sure this is something all small businesses have seen and witnessed in the last 12 months, but we are going to continue to see competitive salaries and larger cost of living increases, with the last 12 months bringing new challenges in terms of inflation. And being that we are in a candidate-driven market, staff are going to ask for more, or they may want to see something different when it comes to their salary. Again, with the minimum wage going up in the province effective October 1st, we need to be prepared that we may see staff wanting a higher number on their pay stub. Doesn't mean it's always the driving factor, but it's something to be aware of as we go into 2023. But I promise it's not all doom and gloom. We do have some great things we have to look forward to. I'm very excited to share tips and tricks for managing with fewer staff. We're going to go over a few areas, and hopefully there'll be some pieces that you can take back and implement into your business. I think a big thing to remember when we don't see new staff entering our doors is, how do we keep our current employees, the staff who got you there? So a big focus when you're going through a staffing shortage is shifting your focus to retention. And some great retention initiatives that any business can implement are the following: stay interviews, recognition campaigns, and engaging your employees. And I'd love to walk through each of those for you. So stay interviews. These are very integral. This helps you understand what keeps your employees with your organization. It's a new trend as most organizations implement exit interviews. But when we're sitting down for an exit interview, it's too late. I think this is a great tip that you can really implement. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it is a proactive approach to human resources. One great piece to consider if you are wanting to put a stay interview in place, this can actually help you develop new programs or policies to support your employees. It's a great way to gain their feedback and to make them feel heard. Recognition campaigns. We love to recognize our employees. You know, the ones that show up day to day, the ones who continue to put in hard work. So make them feel that. And I always stress to organizations, recognition doesn't have to be in a monetary form. A thank you can go quite a long way. And I encourage you to look at different programs that are either driven by management or even employee driven. Encourage your employees to recognize their peers. Some things that you can choose to implement are Employee of the Month campaigns, small thank you cards that when you or your employees recognize someone doing a smart act, a safe act, or a great act of customer service, have a card, have them recognized, put them in for a monthly draw, an annual draw. Give them a day off. Although that may not be the best choice if we are facing staffing shortages. Excuse me. It's something that you can really explore. A common mistake, though, best employees are often recognized when they're almost out the door. So as a way to retain your employees, start early. Any little bit helps. You won't regret it. And last piece, it might seem very straightforward, but engage your employees. If you're going through a time of change or a time of transition, ask them for their feedback. This generates engagement on the floor. Ask your employees this one simple question. If you could do something different in your role, what would it be? It's amazing what suggestions you'll get. And if you are in a time of transition or looking for new pieces to implement, it's a great way to really implement small victories. Your employees will feel heard. This in turn creates an investment in their work and really engages them in the workplace. So, a big piece of the last 2 years, the challenge in recruitment. And so I've kind of approached recruitment in 2 different facets. Not only the recruitment process, but also our ideal candidate. So to start with the recruitment processes, it's time to rethink them. As I mentioned, there's going to be an urgency in finding new ways to recruit candidates. With 17% of most businesses adding full-time roles, we need to be creative. So I included a fun clip here. Hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times. Ways of phone screens and largely just meeting candidates in person, they're different. Rethink your interview process, and that includes your interviewers. Some great tips I'm continuing to see. Excuse me. I promise we'll get through this, guys, without me coughing so much. Have drop-in sessions, have open houses. These are great ways to attract individuals who have like-minded ideas or values to your business. I think a very traditional way of approaching interviews is just including a hiring manager, or if you're fortunate enough to have someone on site in HR. But why not attract those who you want those individuals to work with? So for example, if you have a great employee who's worked there for a long time, who loves connecting with new staff or loves connecting with your customers and is a true ambassador of your organization, provide them a script, have them be your interviewer. They bring and represent what the life of your business is to new candidates. And again, it kind of creates that engagement and investment into their work and into your workplace. One piece I always encourage is having a bit of structure if you are choosing someone who doesn't necessarily have a formal background in interviewing. By creating a script or an interview guide, keeps them on track, but you get to channel their passion for your business and hopefully attract those candidates who really have those same like-minded values. This piece is a little different in terms of creating an inclusive job description. But what does that mean? Keep in mind, a lot of businesses are used to attracting a certain type of candidate and have always used traditional resources or sources. I always say, as we continue to modernize our approach, make sure that all pieces of that approach are up to date. So one thing I would recommend is removing any gendered language from job descriptions. You know, that will attract a greater and more diverse candidate pool. Try different job sources or postings, leverage the community that we have around us, because that may open a greater pool to be attracted to your roles, or really those job description will resonate with them. And a couple other pieces. It's time to rethink your ideal candidate. As we enter a talent shortage and a labor shortage, I think it's important to be mindful of, you know, what critical skills are important to your industry or your job description. If you can find someone who has 50 to 60% of the skills that you actually require and has a desire and eagerness to learn and to be trained, and you have a fairly decent training plan, program, or trainer in place, this is a great person to bring into your organization. Although their integration or onboarding may take a little bit more time, you're committing to their growth and their success at your organization. And explore internships. We're very fortunate to have a college in Belleville as well as universities close by. There's so many different opportunities that we can explore that really provide someone a great learning experience, and it fills a need. Although it is for a shorter period of time, if you have a very structured program in place in terms of understanding a true gap, need, project that that individual would work on, you'd be amazed of the skill set and talent that is coming out of our community schools who go to our local colleges and local universities. We're very fortunate at Wilkinson & Company to get to work with a number of co-ops throughout the year, and they bring fresh perspective, fresh ideas. And it's something I would strongly encourage exploring in a time where we may not see individuals who want permanent full-time opportunities joining the workforce. So with all of that, I also need to ask you, have you ever thought about, you know, what makes our business, our culture, our employees unique? Because that's why individuals come to work for organizations. Now more than ever, people want to belong to something that their core values resonate with, or, you know, something that stands out in their local community or their local area. And I think this is a very important question to ask yourself when we are seeing less employees come through our door, because this is a way that we can maybe attract someone else. And as we go through a period of change and see a continued shortage, it's a great time to break the rules, dare I say. But we can explore, you know, what is working in your organization and what isn't, but how we can also either support our current individuals or attract new team members. So a few things I would always consider when you're going through a shortage and needing to manage with fewer individuals. Take a look at your organizational chart. If you don't have one of those, review your current jobs. I think it's a great time to understand, you know, where you can allocate resources to get the most value. And it doesn't mean collapsing jobs, so please don't think I'm encouraging you to get rid of open vacancies. But it's a time to be unique and explore how you can leverage existing talent with maybe an internal promotion, or how you can look at a role that has traditionally been done by one individual. But if we found some pieces that we could hive off to really give someone a growth opportunity, it's a great time to explore it. You get to set the tone in terms of finding new opportunities. Ask for volunteers. There may be someone who is interested in taking on a new opportunity, but don't overlook the talent that you have within. Flexible work. So you'll notice I didn't use the word hybrid work, but I think it's important that you start to really look at traditional days of work and how it can really work for your business, but your staff from within as well. We have some great policies at Wilkinson and Company that explore compressed work weeks, and our staff really love it. They work more hours in a 4-day period and get a 5th day off. Maybe this is something that you can explore to cover longer hours or shifts within the day, but you give an extra day off for your individuals. This also helps avoid burnout. Scheduling, maybe something you've always traditionally hired for a full-time role. It could be done with some part-time individuals, but at a different time of day. It's a great time to explore that. We've seen some great success in having a part-time individual maybe cover less desirable hours, but it works in their schedule. It's something to try. If it hasn't worked in the past, the workplace is different. The employees are different. Now is a great time to explore it again. And cross-training. I think this is very important, as we've seen in the last 2 years with individuals needing to be off work at a variety of different times. It's really integral to have individuals be a backup for others. This also promotes professional growth within an organization, helps support engagement, and provides unique opportunity to someone who may not have been able to take on a full role specifically, or may not be ready for that next step in their career, but it gives them an opportunity to work on something different. Total compensation. And I want to think of this in the sense that I'm not just saying we need to increase salaries and wages, but we also need to rethink, the plans, the programs, the benefits, and the opportunities that we have in place for employees. And as we go into a shortage of talent and labor, I think it's really integral to, again, maintain your current employees and maybe explore different pieces to really keep them within your team. One of the biggest drivers for individuals staying with an organization is personal or professional growth and development. And although you may not have an opportunity for them to take the next step in their career, it's a really great time to provide the opportunity to upskill staff. If you aren't able to add an additional team member to your team, it might be a really great time to invest in your current staff member. We have local colleges that offer great development courses, and with the remote work piece being so accessible and a lot of courses going online, it may be a great time to explore this as a part of their professional development. So we do have to pay staff sometimes, I will say that, for those shifts that are maybe a little less desirable. This is a common practice that have been in place with shift premiums, but maybe it's something we want to explore now more than ever if it's in your industry that you haven't traditionally explored. This not only supports our current employees, but may attract future employees if it's a shift that maybe sparks their interest, but they can see a little bit more of an incentive to do it. It may help you tap into a different market. Wellness programs. I think more than ever with the quiet quitting trend emerging, this is something that will not only support our current employees, but also may attract individuals who are looking for that balance in their next role. A few things that you can explore with this are company challenges, maybe doing a walkathon. When I was with Life Labs, we had a couple locations track where they walked across the country. Although it was virtual and during COVID, all of our staff logged miles and they showed it weekly update on the map of Canada. Very cool initiative, and the staff loved it. That's just one small example. At Wilkinson and Company, we do different pieces and largely link our wellness program and our social and company events. Just something to keep in mind. Staff love it, keeps them engaged, keeps them healthy, and it's a unique program you get to add. Perk programs. One thing our staff always are asking for are new company items, company swag, I like to call it. These small pieces or formal perk programs just give staff something extra. A great resource to explore, and it often comes at zero cost to an employer, is Perkopolis. Provides your staff some perks, doesn't cost anything for your business to join. We also have the great programs that the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce runs for our local businesses and connecting staff with our stores downtown. It's a great resource to encourage and push in your staff members, and it gives them a little benefit as well. And then I briefly mentioned social and company events. So this provides an element of fun, as well as it helps you show appreciation for your employees. Perhaps it's a quick sports day like we like to do in the summers, or a trivia session after work, or during a morning huddle, having a piece of recognition, or cupcakes. Those are big things that we can all start to slowly get back to in a safe way with the COVID-19 pandemic, hopefully slowly coming to an end, but definitely being less of a presence in our offices. These are the pieces that get employees talking, get them connected. It comes as a form of total compensation, but it can generate so much more. And the last area I'd like to explore, and it's something unique and it's often seen as, dare I say, a negative, but technology. And again, this is not a way to remove jobs, but it's a way to help support individuals or maybe support businesses that aren't seeing additional candidates come in, but gives you a different avenue to explore to offset any staffing shortages. So it may be software, so specific software for your industry that can either help an individual in their current role and make it more efficient, or it supports a true function of your entire business. I know as my experience as a customer has been going to a spa or a salon where now you are using a booking app and not necessarily calling a receptionist. That might be a resource that you can explore to support your customer experience as well as your staff, and not having to find an individual fill that gap. A variety of applications. It seems that there's a new thing or a new trend that comes out every day where now you can book a table with a click of a button and you never have to call into a restaurant. Maybe it's not your ideal experience for a customer, but it's something that saves your staff that extra moment of connecting on the phone, or exploring automation. It's not something that we've traditionally loved for small businesses or exploring to support staffing measures, but it is a great way to explore how you can support your individuals, make processes more efficient, and potentially impact your customers. And my last tip that covers all categories: leverage your network in your community, like your Chamber of Commerce. There are strength in numbers. There's power in sharing ideas, making a connection today with those who are attending this session. Share ideas in a time where we're all looking and facing the same challenges. It's a great time to really make those true connections. And although I can't be there today to answer questions live, Suzanne is going to be taking questions that you may have for her and submit them back to me. And I will get you responses as soon as I'm back in the office. Feel free to send them in and we'll get back to you about those. And I personally would love to thank you for attending this session. It has been great to share some tips, tricks, and some trends of what we have to see in the next 12 months. And for those of you who are hoping to get in touch or stay in touch, my contact information is listed on the screen.
Okay, that was great. Hopefully everybody thought of something different that they could do at their business. Liz, why don't I throw it over to you, and you can maybe talk about what you saw in Katelin's presentation that you thought was really great, and then of course go into your own tools that you wanted to discuss. I don't see any outstanding questions in the chat right now, so I think you can just take it away.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And I'm going to be as cognizant of time as I can. Did anybody find any, I call them thought nuggets when I do my virtual training, because usually in a room, you see each other's faces and you can kind of pick up when people are getting those light bulb moments. Please in the chat share. I'm going to upload my slide deck now. Let me know when you can see it. I just added a few additional tools here. So just some additional tools to consider. Again, always looking in the chat for you to share, or feel free to unmute. We're not a huge group, but we are very powerful. I can just feel it. And let me know if you have questions as we go. And again, you know, consider what's working. So as a business owner, consider what's working for you and what's not. So when we're looking at that whole retention piece, and we're also looking at that piece with regards to, you know, people are saying quiet quitting, all of these other pieces, you know, we have to look at each other's sides as well too. So when I speak to my participants in the courses that I do, they're mostly on the other side of the fence. So a lot of military spouses or dependents looking for employment. And I often ask them, what's going on? What's happening? What would you like? What do you like the most? What are you looking for? All of these questions. And, you know, really looking in, and what they tell me is, and tell me in the chat with a yes or no, how you personally feel as well. They want to feel seen, heard, and respected. So let me know if that resonates with you, even as offering or having your own business. The importance of people feeling that they need to feel that they are seen, heard, and respected. So let me know your thoughts on that. So, you know, really looking at perceptions can be different. That whole piece about doing a stay interview. I often have had managers in the past that have just done quick check-ins, came in and said, hey, what's going well for you? What's your challenges? What's happening? So that I can voice them. It was funny. I went into my executive director's office the last week to talk to something, and she says, "Oh, I don't mind when you come in because you always bring solutions." And I kind of laughed. But the fact is that if you can empower or make your employees feel that they're empowered and they are heard and they are seen and they are respected, quite often that dialogue, their perspective could be totally different to where you're thinking. I have actually worked with spouses, or, you know, before that, I ran a resource center in Campbellford, job seekers that wanted to work evenings or wanted to work weekends because it worked for them, totally against my grain, but again, just something to consider. So that whole little piece of checking in. Okay, just find my thing. Also, that one big concern in the chat, yes or no, when you feel over or underwhelmed, do you get quiet? Do you kind of seal up? Do you feel that your staff kind of quietens down? Do you feel that there's something going on? Let me know in the chat. Quite often when I'm over or underwhelmed, instead of feeling like I have to stand up or say something, quite often I will rescind in. That's when that piece comes out where you kind of look around and say, okay, wait a minute, all of a sudden people are quiet. So keep that in mind. Again, as promised, I have a whole bunch of links at the bottom, and I know this will be shared with you. Katelin did talk a little bit about culture and communications. I actually found it was pretty good. Again, any tips or tricks I give you are just suggestions on doing a stay interview. So how many of you have done a stay interview or are interested? Let us know in the chat. When you look at this, this is a longer overview of how to do it, but they give you a good feeling about things to ask and what to look for and what's going on with regards to why you would even do a stay interview. I know personally on my side of the house, my middle son just left a job, and at the end they did an exit interview. Let me know in the chat if you do exit interviews. They did an exit interview and the guy said to him, is there any way to fix this? And my son said, no, because I'm gone. So again, if there was that stay interview, that it doesn't necessarily have to have a bad tone. Many stay interviews I've had in my past or have been part of have been very empowering to me as an employee or as a manager, because really it kind of lets you set that tone. So again, Mind Tools, if you've ever explored Mind Tools, I was thrilled to find out that HRPA has some free Mind Tools that we can use, but there's a lot on their website that is free and that you can go in and check into and check out. Again, some really good information there for you. So we just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you as well. Psychological safety on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is I've never heard of this. 10 is I know it inside out. I could probably teach it. Give me your scale, 1 to 10. I need some numbers. Yes, yeah. So Chantal's got some information on the screen about stay interviews that you want to check into as well. And yeah, I've got some really good questions on those stay interviews that I really enjoyed learning more about when I went through that, including asking people, and I know Katelin referred to it as well, as asking people what they'd like to do. There's some really good questions that presenter brings up. So, you know, what you do when you go out to any of these resources, it's take what resonates and works with you and move it over to your organization and to what you need. Again, so what I really liked about this, and I've got the source right underneath the screen for you, but I have a whole bunch of other resources in the bottom corner as well. And I saw a few low numbers. When you go onto this site, and no, I don't get paid by any of these, just good information to share. When you click on each of those factors, it actually opens up the screen and underneath gives you examples of all of those things. So we are unionized at the MFRC. I sit on the employee side of the house. And we had steward training, and they actually talked a lot about psychological safety. And I found it very empowering to learn what was resonating and what was going on. You'll notice near the bottom that recognition and rewards is in there too. It also speaks about culture as well, growth and development. So I wanted to share some resources on that growth and development side as well too. I wanted to talk about where to find candidates. So I just wanted to share again, does anybody know about the Quinte Employment Network? Let me know on the screen if you know about it. Right now, Brad is co-chairing it. Brad is the Center for Workforce Development. But this Quinte Employment Network has been around forever. I have been at the MFRC for 16 years. It was around before I even got there. And it's a great resource as an employer to check into, because it's almost all of the agencies in the area that help people find jobs. So they can share job postings for free for you. They can share what's going on and what your needs are. Last week I was at one of their meetings, and it was funny because I was prepping for this and I was just thinking, you know, if I flipped over to the HR side of my brain and looked at what employers needed, and looking at the fact of, you know, if there's less people applying for jobs, and Katelin's information about, you know, looking at changing things up a little bit. Paul Smith, who's the Director of Career Services at Loyalist, advised us that as of November 23rd, they're actually going to be taking the restrictions off of the international students. He didn't know if that was good or bad for the students, but apparently they have a 20-hour work week restriction. Do you know about that, Suzanne? There's a restriction on how many hours they can work.
Yes, that is correct. It is being removed.
Yeah.
It is, well, and it's just a temporary
Yes.
measure right now to the end of the year. I think just to see how it goes. And the whole purpose of that is to help employers find the additional staff that they need. And I have a feeling, because the workforce shortage is not going anywhere, that will probably get extended after the end of the year.
Yeah, I know he spoke about March 2023, but yeah, I agree. I believe it was November 23rd that it was going to be moved, but it sounds like it's already moved. So something to consider. Also look at reverse recruitment. I personally am teaching the folks on the other side of the house that are looking for that hidden job market opportunity. And what they're actually doing is going out online and shopping places they may like to work at, whether you have a job posting or not. So really looking at, can you be found? Can your organization be found online? And what is that branding looking like? And that what's in it for me, believe it or not, now these people are shopping to see if they would like to work for you. So something to consider. What's going on in LinkedIn? I know I just did a session and Chantal very nicely helped to present with me. We called it Opportunities Where. It was a national session, but we did have local folks there as well too. And we were talking about all kinds of different opportunities and talking about LinkedIn, talking about the hidden job market and how to find different jobs too. So they asked me about informational interviews. Would you consider, I need to know in the chat, would you consider if someone asked you for an informational interview? So to find out about your company, what your company may need, what your occupation looks like. I am always pleasantly surprised to see people get successful with getting these interviews, especially as they start to do a transition. Huge amount of transitions going on from military to civilian work as well to check out and check into as well. So in the podcast, I'm currently looking at doing something with regards to informational interviews. So actually giving job seekers the tips to go to you, the employers, and ask you to have a virtual coffee chat or even an in-person coffee chat as the world starts to open up a little more. So things to consider. And if you're open to that, and I'm seeing somebody say, yes, they are, you know, consider putting that in with regards to either your LinkedIn or somewhere online. It doesn't mean your whole day has to turn into these. They can be super quick, but it just can be another option. Labor market information, lots and lots of information on labor market information that can help you out with regards to where to find people and the help desk. So I don't know if people are aware of the labor market information help desk. So Brad has that on the Center for Workforce Development, and no, he didn't even buy me a tea to mention all this good stuff. I just really enjoy it on the employee side of the house and know that likewise, the yin and yang, it will work for the employers as well. And they actually do, he called it a scrape, but they actually go all over the place and actually put in job postings from everywhere right onto their site as well too. So just things to be considerate about. Katelin did talk about professional development. I know sometimes, I don't know about you, but the budget that I had at work kind of shrunk a little bit, if anybody's feeling that. Contact North has been a trusted partner of my program at the MFRC for years and years and years, but they are such a conduit to so many options for free and inexpensive training online. They have been online and virtual forever. And they can offer training. And one of the things that I love the most is that they can link people to free LinkedIn learning courses, something to offer your current staff if they wanted to take some of those courses for free. So I've made sure that you have all of their contacts. You can blame me if you really have to when you want to. I don't mind. I have very broad shoulders, but again, a perk for your staff for some professional development that won't necessarily cost you. They can also do some exploration and some research for you as well. And that is it. And I think I have 2 minutes clear. I have put Kayla on the slide deck because my position at the MFRC actually broke in half. My position is more virtual and national training, and Kayla is doing the direct client service. So she is actually meeting some military that are in transition, but a whole lot of military spouses that are eager and looking for employment opportunities in our area. Are there any questions? And Suzanne, did you see anything that I need to try to answer in the chat?
Yeah, no, I think you brought up a lot of great points. I just was wondering, by a show of hands, I'm going to actually just switch my view to gallery view so I can see everybody on the screen. If people want to use the raise hand function, and just let me know, is there anybody that is already putting their available jobs on a virtual job bank, such as the the one that Linda put in the chat there? What was it called? Jobs in Quinty, I think, Linda. Workinquinty.ca. workingquinty.ca.
workingquinty.ca.
Has anybody actually used or maybe an Indeed? I mean, I know that Service Canada has had the job bank for a long time. Has anybody use those places to put their jobs so people can find them, or do they just tend to use their own internal sources to try and find employees? Just put your hand up. If someone said they use Indeed all the time. Okay, so maybe not a lot of people. Just put it in the chat if you're more comfortable with that. So I think that that's an easy adjustment that employers can use. I think people that have used Indeed as an example have got great success on that. And I think the one that Brad has, it actually will get those job postings from places like Indeed and other websites and put them all together on theirs. Also, you know, if you're looking at your compensation package, if you're looking at what sort of your job position, it's always good to go online to look at what is already being offered, like who are you competing against. So, you know, go on to an Indeed site or the job bank or the other ones around that are specific locally, and then have a look to see what are they offering in compensation, what keywords are they using in their job descriptions. And I think that it's just a way for you to make sure that what you're offering remains competitive, because things keep changing quite rapidly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just put in the chat to make sure when you're doing your job postings, change them up a bit if you need to, and do that. What's in it for me? And yes, Chantel said that being the candidate. So really kind of almost spinning like getting a candidate interested into what can they expect to get when they work with you or for you? What do you offer? All of those kind of things. So.
And I think one of the other things that I'm hearing from employers is quite often some of the candidates they're getting, and Katelin did touch on this, they don't have all the skills you're looking for. They don't have the experience that you're looking for. And so I think that presents employers with a great opportunity to bring somebody in at the start of their career, and through providing that onboarding, taking the time to onboard them, taking the time to make sure that they've gotten the training that they need, looking, like you said, at those other places where maybe there's some professional development you could link them in with. You might be able to get somebody that you're gonna, you have to invest in that person at the beginning, but it's definitely would maybe have them stay longer with you because they are going to feel that you've invested in them. And the other point is, don't ignore the staff that you have. The retention is so key right now because so many other employers are looking at your staff hungrily, like they're looking at your staff. And so what are you doing with your staff to make sure that they are engaged, that they feel that they have that sense of loyalty and commitment to your business? Are they buying into your mission and what it is that you're providing for your customers and clients? So I think I love that professional development options that both you and Katelin talked about. I think sometimes we don't always think about investing in our current staff, but that's definitely something. If they have their own goals and aspirations, and they have some, maybe they've been in the same job for 10 years and they're looking at how they can mix it up, or they have some ideas that they want to bring to the workplace. They're your frontline staff in many cases.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got some ideas that would maybe make things work a little differently. So tapping into that,
There's very
resource.
inexpensive ways to do that too, Suzanne. And I know we're a little bit over time, so I'll be super fast because I promised. But even if you have HRIS systems, so information systems, and asking them about their interests and their special talents and all of those things, there's nothing more hurtful than having a professional development day and they bring somebody in and pay them to do something that one of the staff could have done. So, you know, whether they paint or, you know, just fun stuff that you can do a lunch and learn or a sharing of skills. Not only does that staff now stand out and can bring something and share, but they also feel that they're appreciated and seen. But then other people start to say, hey, wait, I do this or I do that. It doesn't cost you anything. It may cost you a bit of time around lunch hour, but, you know, consider if you don't have that time to, you know, do a half hour or do a special event, you know, consider those things that can run in time. So at the daycare, for instance, we did a pedometer challenge. But the daycare, of course, they had the kids there. They couldn't take that extra 10 or 15 minutes to gather. They would just report in, and we made a mountain and we showed us climbing up the mountains with our steps. I reached out to Participation and they sent me free pedometers. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do that are just fun and exciting.
Okay, yeah, I think that's great. And we are certainly, it's been an hour, and I find an hour is enough time to get through the most of the points. Before we close it off, if anybody has a question that they would like to ask of Liz while we have her here, now's your chance to do so. And if you'd rather wait and send in your question, I have put my email address in the chat, and so has Liz. I will be gathering questions for Katelin until the end of the week, and then I'll be sending them to her. So if you have any questions that you want to just send by email, you can do that. The other thing is this session today has been recorded. So everybody that's registered is going to get a link sent to the copy of the recording. Also, the PDF of the presentation by Liz and Katelin with their links in it, so you don't have to try and scramble and find them. You'll be able to click and go to those great resources that they found. So you'll get all that tomorrow. So I don't think there's any other questions that I'm seeing. Liz, do you see any questions?
I don't see any other questions quite yet, but yeah, feel free to share there. I'm seeing that there was a great presentation from Martha's Delectables. Now I'm hungry, so I'm going to be checking out what that is. But thank you for inviting me, and thank you for letting me share. And thank you as everybody for being part of our community and making it as great as it is. So.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck with your search for some candidates for your own places. So good luck with that, and we're glad that we could help you out a little bit with today's presentation. Bye.